Welcome back, you guys, to Andy the Baker Show. We have a lot to discuss on this episode. We want to discuss about CoreWeave. They had their most recent quarterly earnings. They crushed it out of quarter with 400% revenue growth, dude. Again, that's 400% revenue growth. Then we got to talk about Nvidia as well because they recently reported earnings and they crushed it and where I think the company's going to go from here. And then not only that, Google VO3 has been released, and that has been a game changer. It looks like ChatGPT is back and stuck in the past. It makes ChatGPT look like a young kid when it comes to Google VO3. And we have a lot to discuss. Let's go ahead first with CoreWeave. CoreWeave recently reported their earnings, and this company is crazy, you guys. The company went up over 100% in a single month. Yes, over 100% in a single month. But I do think it's warranted. And here's why. The company had over 400% increase in revenue year over year. Now, what does this mean? What ended up happening was that there was a ton of shortage on the stock. And when you take a look at the chart, the moment the earnings reported, you had a huge pop, causing the shorts to cover their squeeze. And as a result, the company just kept on going higher and higher and higher. And now we're in a position where the company went up over 100%. Now, I love what CoreWeave does because essentially their business model is pretty straightforward, but very difficult to replicate. For example, what CoreWeave does is they buy a ton of the most latest NVIDIA chips. They create these data centers. They currently have 33 data centers. And what they do is they rent them out. All right, they rent out to companies such as Microsoft, who is their biggest customer. And if Microsoft ever needs to run some of these AI compute on some servers and they just need additional data servers when there's additional demand, that is where CoreWeave comes into play. Now, another thing on why CoreWeave is able to get these chips in advance or they have priority is because NVIDIA is also not only their supplier, but also a big investor into CoreWeave. As a result of that, CoreWeave has this advantage where they are able to get these NVIDIA chips that they can lend out. Now, here's the huge issue with CoreWeave. The good thing is it has a lot of demand. People want the services of CoreWeave. The issue is they don't have enough money to create these data centers, right? Essentially, they have a lot of debts. And that is essentially the biggest issue with CoreWeave that I personally see. Because if in the future we happen to run into a recession, or if in the future we happen to run into where interest rates go higher, that is definitely going to impact CoreWeave a lot. Because now the financing these data centers is going to be a lot highly cost. And not only that, because CoreWeave has to have get all their supplies from Nvidia itself. Nvidia chips are not cheap, you guys. Nvidia chips cost a lot of money. And another thing about that is that Nvidia chips are always improving. The data centers they're building out right now, they may not be needed, let's say 2 years from now. They may be obsolete because in 2 years from now we may get a new technology that's way better than the technology that we have now. There's certain risks that's involved. However, when you take a look at the earnings report call that the CEO has presented of CoreWeave, he is saying that every time he borrows money from big banks, big institutions, he makes sure that he has a contract signed, right? He uses that as a collateral. He brings that to the banks and the financial institution before they borrow and lend him money that, hey, this is what we're going to be utilizing the money on. And throughout the life of the loan, we're going to be making sure that we pay back these high borrowed money that we're utilizing to build more data centers and buy more NVIDIA chips so we can build up and meet the demand that we have. That's the issue with CoreWeave. It's got amazing demand. I can see the future. There's a lot of people that haven't used AI yet and they're not big believers, but once they start utilizing AI, I can imagine them hopping onto this AI trend, right? Because I've utilized AI. I think it's amazing. I've seen VO3. I just think, holy cow, the potential is limitless. With that being said, it is a company that could have higher leverage than Nvidia. It could have also a higher alpha than Nvidia, but it does come with this risk because if interest rates go higher, if we happen to seem like in AI demand is slowing down, then this company is definitely going to be one that could get hit big time. And it's actually a company that I am considering personally, just because I don't know, you guys. We just went through a huge downturn in the stock market. We had a big correction. I just don't know if we're gonna get another correction that fast. I feel like we're in the start of a mid-cycle bull run that we're going through right now. Now, the second thing we want to discuss is about Nvidia. Oh man, oh man. This is a company that's valued at $3 trillion, yet it keeps on growing at double-digit revenue growth. One of the most gangster things about Nvidia is that on the earnings report, everything looked good except the net profit margins. On the net profit margins, Jim Cramer was asking the CEO, Jensen Huang, like, hey, are you not worried about maybe net profit margins going lower, right? Isn't that an alarm bell for you guys? And the gangster answer that Jensen Huang gave was like, hey, we have just so much demand that that's not really priority right now. We have so much demand that we want to make sure that we meet customer expectations, and then later on, once we're a more developed company, once we're a little bit more stable company with stable demand, then we can focus on the net profit margins. But right at this moment where we have just so much demand to fill, we're really focused on making sure we meet the demand and making sure that we're selling as many Nvidia chips to customers as possible. And this is another company that I've been thinking of buying, you guys, because this company, even at $3 trillion, is still growing, and they are the lifeline support for AI development. Every couple of years, we're gonna get newer and newer Nvidia chips that make the previous technology look obsolete, right? And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of this AI story because AI is increasing incredibly fast. It used to be that every year we double in computing power. Now it's less than a year. Now it's at least around 7 months where we double every computing power. And it's all because of NVIDIA. These Blackwell chips, these AI factories that Jensen Huang is building out, they are crazy, you guys. They are essential for AI because now, if you're not utilizing AI, it's like the other competitors are going to be way more productive than you. You have an employee that's utilizing AI and an employee that's not utilizing AI. In 1 year's time, the gap is going to get so big. So because of that, it's so important that these companies get onto this AI train, because if you're not on the AI train, then you're going to get left behind, and no company wants to be left behind. So that's my thoughts on NVIDIA. That's another company that I could be putting my money towards. And then the third company is Alphabet, that just released VO3. Oh my God, VO3. If you haven't seen it, VO3 is amazing, you guys. I've actually thought about even buying the subscription so I could utilize VO3 myself. These are the skills that if you're a young person watching this, I want you to learn all these skills. I want you to learn and pick up how are people utilizing VO3, how are people utilizing AI, because the things that people are creating with VO3 is just amazing. All right. The productivity that Google is starting to make with AI, it is mind blowing, you guys. The only limit is your imagination, because the AI follows really, really discrete prompts, and it follows the prompts to a T. So as long as you're asking the right questions, it is going to be there for you. So because of that, it is another company that I'm thinking of adding more into my portfolio, even though I already own so much of Alphabet stock, because I think this VO3 is going to change the future. I think this VO3 is going to be a game changer for YouTube, game changer for Netflix, all these video creating companies. I think it's going to be amazing. What makes VO and Gemini so amazing is that now Gemini is actually monetized in the Google system. Okay, what does that mean? For every, let's say, for million tokens, it's charging clients $1.25 for its lowest model. Now, what does this mean, right? Or what does a token mean? Take, for example, a simple prompt, right? Take example, the title of the video. The title of the video may be essentially 10 to 15 tokens. All right. An image might be 200 to 500 tokens. A video of this video itself could be maybe around, I don't know, 10,000 tokens. To get to a million tokens is actually not that long, not that much, especially if there's so many people utilizing. So that is something that I'm looking forward to seeing on Google's reporting in the near future, when they start actually seeing that, hey, we're actually starting to make money off of Gemini and VO3 and all this AI that we've been spending money on. The last thing I did want to share with you guys that I thought was super interesting is the deposit market share for banks in San Francisco. What's crazy is that, so I live in San Francisco, and I wanted to take a look at which bank controls majority of the deposit market share. And it turns out that Bank of America controls about 59%. of the deposit market share in San Francisco. Now, why is that so interesting? It's because we have a second distance at Wells Fargo at around 17% and Chase at less than 10%. And the crazy thing about this is that Wells Fargo actually has their headquarters in San Francisco. That's the crazy thing. And for the longest time, people keep telling me that Chase is the biggest bank, is the best bank, it has the best credit card rewards. But when you actually look at their deposit market share, they're nowhere near Bank of America. Bank of America stands at number one. Like, there is no debate about it with 59%. Now, there are two Bank of America. So if you even add them together, it would be a 63% market share for San Francisco market. And I just thought that was so crazy. And I just thought that was so cool and just so wild how they were able to become so dominant in the San Francisco market. And if you have an idea why you think they're so dominant in today's banking world, if you could leave that in the comments, I'd love to know. And with that, you guys, see you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much for watching Andy the Banker Show. Bye bye.